Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right everybody, time for the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books and I let you know what I thought about them. And of course, 4th of July is not going to stop comic books from coming out. They are out in full force, lots of exciting titles. So happy 4th of July, happy Independence Day, all that jazz, and happy wedding day. We always start with the pick of the week, and this week's pick of the week, Batman number 50 right there. This little thing got spoiled by the New York Times and DC Comics on Sunday. I was unable to avoid the spoilers. Have no fear, I'm not going to spoil it for you here, so I can't really say too much about this book, but I will say that it is a very, very fantastic comic book and a wonderful celebration of the relationship and the romance between Batman and Catwoman. I loved this issue. When Tom King started out on Batman, I was a little iffy. Then I got a little tiffy, what's going on? I didn't like the book, didn't really feel it. Then I went back right after the War of Jokes and Riddles when Batman proposed to Catwoman. I went back and I read it and I was trying to pick up on the theme that Tom King was doing. That plays out perfectly in this issue, and Tom King tells us this is just part of a huge story, right? So I'm not going to spoil what happens in this book, but I'm going to say it's amazing. The main story's artwork is done by Mikel Janin in fantastic, elegant simplicity. Fantastic. Good stuff. Great artwork. The dialogue, the script, the structure of the story is amazing. There's a lot of guest artists in here that provide pinups, but the way that Tom King crafts the story and structures it, it fits in so perfectly, so seamlessly, so flawlessly. This book is seriously not just a celebration of Batman and Catwoman, but it's a celebration of comic books and of comic book creators. Tom King, Janin, and the rest, you guys have done a hell of a job. I'm sorry DC pulled the rug out from under your feet, but it still had just as much of an impact on me as it would if I had read it straight up cold. I loved this book so much. And with the inevitable Batman number 50 comes Catwoman number 1. So let's talk about this. First of all, that's a really, really sharp cover by Art Germ there. She's got a new costume, Selena Kyle. She's got a new purpose, a new book, all that jazz. I can't really talk too much about this one either, but I will say that I did like it a lot. Joelle Jones, we already know she's a fantastic artist, and this issue is no exception. It's got fantastic artwork throughout. Great, expertly paced type stuff. The script is amazing. It's so good. It's seriously tight and fast and free and flows so perfectly well. Seriously, very impressed with Jones as a writer. Very impressed, totally. Seriously, this is colored by an Allred, I believe, as well. Yeah, Laura Allred doing the coloring, which just enhances Jones's artwork to the nth degree. Seriously, this is great stuff. I liked it a lot. It definitely follows after Batman number 50, so read that first, then read Catwoman, and it's a really nice kind of coda to that Batman wedding issue. And seriously, that Batman wedding issue, even if you think you know everything about it, until you read it, you really don't. And I am very excited for the future of Batman and Catwoman right now. And that's not been how I've been for the last few years, to be honest with you. Anyway, Justice League number 3 is out this week. My shop got shorted so many of the main covers on things. I usually try to pick those ones up, but this is Justice League with that Hot Girl cover by Jim Lee. Justice League number 3 is out. Jorge Jimenez on the artwork and Scott Snyder doing the script and the story. Fantastic stuff. I've been loving this book. It's big, it's epic, it's boisterous, it's absurd. It's exactly what Metal was, just rolled over into the whole Justice League. It's great. It's a nice spotlight on Luthor. Luthor doesn't get quite a spotlight in here, but his story does progress further. The whole ultraviolet lantern type thing, the unseen spectrum of, the unseen spectrum of light. That's some fantastic stuff is going on in this book. Great, big, epic ideas. Beautiful coloring. I do got to highlight the coloring on here. I think they credit at the end. Yeah, Alejandro Sanchez's colors are beautiful and brilliant. It's giant, it's epic, and they do address that thing from issue 1 that kind of bothered me, and they started addressing it a little bit, and that's when they just blew up the moon randomly. But that's how big and epic this book is. Justice League should be that kind of title, and now it is. We have the finale of Brian Michael Bendis' Man of Steel. His very first launch into Superman. Superman in Action Comics launch, this month, right? But Man of Steel wraps up today, and this is really fun, and I really liked it. It's a great wrap-up to the story, to the whole thing going on with, what's his name? I can never remember. Roal Kogar? What's his name? I never remember that dude's name. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to read it. I'm going to find it. Ragul Gar? Is that what it is? It's something like that. Anyway, that big monster dude, that story kind of comes to a halt, kind of wraps up, but it also tells us the fate of Lois and John, exactly what happened to them. If you've been reading this story, I think you can figure it out. But it's really cool. I like it. Bendis understands the character of Superman, even more so understands the character of Supergirl. Lots of ramifications from this issue are going to reverberate throughout the Superman and DC books in months to come, I guarantee it. But Bendis on Superman, his first full story, Man of Steel, I like it. I like it. Plus, you got artwork done entirely in this issue by Jason Fabok, and they went over the page count at no additional cost. It's still $3.99, but it's got a heftier page count. Very meaty story, very satisfying conclusion to Man of Steel, and it's got me very excited for what's coming up. Finishing off DC with some New Age of Heroes stuff. Curse of Brimstone number 4 is here, and the curse of these New Age of Heroes books have been when the initial artist leaves, usually the book takes a significant dip in quality. Usually. Not so with things like The Terrifics or even Silencer. Not so with The Curse of Brimstone. Seriously, Philip Tan has not been on this one. I was really worried that without Philip Tan, this book would kind of like really sink and not swim. No, it swims. Eduardo Pensica does a fantastic job, along with Justin Jordan, who's writing the script, of keeping that big, epic energy of this book alive, and just, it's so fun. And there's a double page spread I'll show you from the beginning, and that Philip Tan cover, but still, the coloring really helps kind of keep that tone alive. It's a different style of artwork, but it works very, very well. Lorraine Barreto is the colorist in this issue. Fantastic stuff. I love this book so much. It's shaping up to be my favorite, probably, from the New Age of Heroes. And I did not expect that when these were first announced at all, but I'm loving The Curse of Brimstone. The Unexpected number 2, issue 1 I felt was a little stilted at times. It just didn't latch onto me entirely, but it had some really nifty concepts. I feel like this issue has some neat concepts as well, but it didn't grab me. I wasn't invested at all in this book, so this is probably going to be my last one. I typically don't like Steve Orlando's work, and I don't understand why. I respect his talent. I get what he does, but his books never grab me at first. Maybe I should read them in a big chunk and see if it works better that way. You know, sometimes a writer works better, not just issue to issue, but like story to story. Like for me, Rick Remender is someone like that. Another person who's like that for me is Ta-Nehisi Coates. So let's move over to Marvel. Captain America number 1 launches today because it's the 4th of July in the Americas, in the United States of America. Captain America number 1, big deal because it's Ta-Nehisi Coates doing Captain America. I'm super excited. I was very excited. It's all right. It was a very weak issue. I didn't think it was a very solid issue number 1. It didn't really provide much of a thesis on what exactly Coates is going to try to do. There's a little bit of hints to it, but it's very sparse in its ideas and its dialogue and its narration, and that kind of felt a little weak to me. The artwork by Lionel Francis Yu is pretty solid. It's got great line work, but it's a little sparse as well. So I was really looking forward to this book, and I know that historically, especially with Black Panther, for instance, I appreciate Ta-Nehisi Coates' comic book work more as a whole. So maybe that's going to be something like that, but I was really expecting more out of this issue number 1. There's a lot of hype behind this book. There's a lot of build-up behind this book. It is the first time that the Marvel Universe is directly addressing how the nation feels about Captain America in story, really, like to this degree, since Secret Empire, and they kind of just write it off real quick, but it's still a very permeating thing in the book. And it feels like Secret Empire was so long ago, it's best just left forgotten. But I don't know. I'm still very excited to see what Ta-Nehisi Coates is going to explore thematically in the pages of Captain America. I just think it wasn't the strongest first issue. Death of the Inhumans number 1, though, is sadly a strong issue. And I'm not going to spoil anything in this book, but me being a longtime Fantastic Four, therefore Inhumans fan, I'm kind of, yeah, this book is exactly what it says it is. It's the death of the Inhumans. This is kind of pissing me off. I'm serious. This book, I'm not over this book yet, so I can't give an unbiased opinion about this book. I'll tell you this. It's actually a very well done book. It's big. It's exactly what you expect out of writer Donny Cates. It's big. It's flamboyant. It's just out there. It's just crazy. And it's going to ruffle some feathers. And it's ruffled mine. But I'm maintaining a level head. I'm going to see how the story plays out. I'll tell you one thing, though. Donny Cates writing Maximus the Mad, that's a match made in heaven. But there's, I need to get more into this book later on because it's kind of pissing me off. But one thing that didn't was Cosmic Ghostwriter. Not that the book is good, guys. It's just what's happening, and it's kind of, we'll talk about it more in full later. Cosmic Ghostwriter #1 is out today, also from Donny Cates. This one was awesome. It's so much fun. It picks up exactly where the story left off in the Thanos win story. When last we saw Cosmic Ghostwriter, he died. So it picks up there. He's in Valhalla. Donny Cates has already said that, and it just goes from there, and it's rambunctious, and it's fun, and it's just awesome, and it's so great. Seriously, you got Antonio Fabela back on the coloring. He colored that Thanos book, so it keeps that a certain tone that's necessary, but Dylan Burnett's artwork is fantastic. Love it. Great. Very graphic, very good sense of composition and placement and things like that. Love this book so much. It was very fun. If you liked Donny Cates' Thanos run, this is a nice little coda to have to that, if that makes sense. Astonishing X-Men is here with a brand new creative team. For issue number 13, it's finally the debut of Matthew Rosenberg on an ongoing major X-Men title. We've been expecting that for a while. And it's very good. It's a very fun book. It's a great team. I'm loving this team right here with Havoc, Dazzler, Beast, Colossus, and Warbird. And of course, Matthew Rosenberg on Twitter has been saying, but there's a sixth man. Who is it? Who's the sixth member? I believe it's revealed at the end of this issue, and it's really exciting. And I'm not going to spoil it for you, of course. But this issue is very fun. It's Havoc trying, it's a disgraced Havoc. The one thing is Matthew Rosenberg's kind of writing Havoc the same way he wrote Multiple Man, the same way he wrote Clint Barton, but they at times, under the right circumstances, are very similar type characters in the way they act and interact and react in the Marvel Universe. Does that make sense? Anyway, this book is really fun. Lots of great dialogue. I like the story setup. I like where it's going. It's a slow build up into Havoc building this new team because he was twisted in that terrible Axis event. His mind was twisted. He just recently went back to being a good guy. But I really like this issue, and I really like the surprise twist at the end, and it's really fun. And I thought it was really cool. Seriously. So there you go. And the Beast dialogue is spot on in that issue. The Immortal Hulk #2 is here. These dudes straight up turned this into a horror comic. Like, for real. For real, for real. Issue 2 is fantastic. Issue 1 blew me away. So does issue 2. Seriously, Joe Bennett's artwork, I was really not thinking this is going to be the direction or the book for him, but I was wrong. It's so fine. It reminds me of a Bernie Wrightson a little bit, his Frankenstein Swamp Thing work. Think about just a little bit, not as sophisticatedly detailed, but it reminds me of that in something. But seriously, this book is so good. It's maintaining this horror feel. And it's creepy, and the Hulk is scary, but very interesting. And Bruce Banner has never just felt more hopeless. And this book is so fun. Al Ewing is the writer. I love this new direction. Immortal Hulk, fantastic. Incredible. Immortal, actually. Avengers #4 is here. This book is so much fun. Just like the Justice League over at DC. This is big. It's epic. It's got lots of crazy, cool ideas. Not as big or crazy as ideas as I think that the Justice League has, but just as big and crazy as Marvel will allow. Seriously, some rewriting of Marvel Universe history, some Celestial stuff, new information about the Celestials, new information about those 1 billion BC Avengers led by Odin and the Phoenix and the Iron Fist and the Panther and the Rider and all that stuff, right? Really fun, great artwork. Seriously, great artwork. We got Ed McGuinness. We got Ed McGuinness. And Medina, is it Paco? Yeah, Paco Medina. And of course, Jason Aaron on the writing there, and David Muriel on the coloring. Yeah, David Muriel on the coloring. This book is fun. It's big. It's epic. It's exactly what the Avengers need to be. A team that's just kind of thrown together of different personalities that work and interplay with each other very well. And big, epic, giant. Only the Avengers can get together to stop this. Lots of cool stuff in this. I really like that one so much. Doctor Strange #3 is here. Another one we were shorted the main cover on. So they got these Captain Marvel, 50th anniversary for Carol Danvers. That's awesome, right? So let's celebrate that. Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel. Doctor Strange #3, fantastic. This book's been blowing me away. Mark Waid's writing a story about Doctor Strange in space. After this issue, you know exactly why they did this story with him in space. It sets up some things for some other books that are coming, I guarantee it. But this was a really fun book, really fun adventure. I love this story. I love this characterization of Strange. Love everything about it, especially the artwork by Jesus Sayas. Fantastic, amazing, beautiful line work, brilliant, luscious colors. The artwork in this is the highlight, but the writing is superb as well. Mark Waid does what he does best. as well as the artist. Fantastic stuff. And Deadpool number 2, that's right guys, I read Deadpool number 1 last month and I really liked it. So I did read issue number 2 and I liked it as well. This was a very fun book. It wasn't overly obnoxious or annoying to me. The artwork by Nick Klein is amazing. It seems like Scotty Young just might be the Deadpool writer for me. But this is just 2 issues in. But I will say that 2 issues in, I really like the new Deadpool book. So, I mean, if I'm saying it, I think you should read it. So there you go. Hunt for Wolverine is almost over, thank the gods. But Weapon Lost is here with issue number 3. Doesn't really get into where Wolverine is or nothing like that, but it does start bringing the mystery inherent to this particular book to a head. A return of at least a Robbie favorite character from back in the day. So that was neat for me. But ultimately, this Hunt for Wolverine stuff is just... I'm not liking it. So let's move over to some other publishers, starting with Dark Horse. Let's talk about the Quantum Age, because if you guys have been following this channel, you know I'm behind on Black Hammer. And I'm so tired of being behind on Black Hammer, and I've been skipping out on these miniseries, even though I know that I can read them without reading Black Hammer. And I got tired of doing that and tired of just feeling like I'm missing something. So I'm about to get caught all up on Black Hammer and all those side stories, sure, like Frankenstein, Dr. Star. But I decided to just go ahead and read Quantum Age number 1 now, and I loved it. It was great. That Martian character from the Black Hammer, can't remember his name right now, but this is his story. It's fun. It's cool. It's not his story, actually, but it's, yeah. I misremember it. It's not his story, but it's a really cool story. If you read the Black Hammer books, it's kind of like the Legion of Superheroes of the Black Hammer world. But I really did like this one. Jeff Lemire's been killing it on these books. I'm very excited to get caught up and read Dr. Star and Sherlock Frankenstein. But Quantum Age was great. And let's talk about some Vault comics, because I got this new one right here, Submerged number 1. This book was absolutely amazing. Written by Vita Ayala, I believe. Vita Ayala, fantastic story, fantastic artwork from Lisa Sturley. Lisa Sturley doing the art, the illustrating, Stilati on the coloring, Rachel Deering doing the lettering, and the lettering is very important in comic books, and this is one of those perfect examples. You read this book, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. This book was great. It's a really cool story about family, about a brother-sister relationship. You know, like when you, like say you're the black sheep and the white sheep of the family, if that makes sense, or something like that. But it's a really cool story that really kind of subtly gets into some dark, fantastical elements. And I'm very excited to see this story unfold. I love the artwork. I love the coloring. I love this story. Look at that cover. Vault Comics has just been pumping out consistently fantastic sci-fi and fantasy books. This is no exception. Submerged, if you missed out on Wasted Space, if you've missed out on Deep Roots, if you've missed out on Maxwell's Demons, or even if you haven't, this is another one of those type of titles. This is going to sell out. It's going to be a hit, soon to be fantasy sci-fi classic. This is really cool, subtle type stuff. Really cool, filled with luscious metaphor, and I love it. Speaking of Vault Comics, we got another new one from them. Vagrant Queen, issue number 2 is here. Written by Magdalene Visaggio, with artwork by Jason Smith, and coloring by Harry Saccone, and lettering by Zach Zahn. This book is fun and exciting just as much. It's really cool. It's a great, fun, sarcastic, filled with wit script. It's a space opera with like a, so the title character is basically, she's a princess she's an exiled princess on the run from an evil empire, and she's got that punk rock shove it attitude, and it's fantastic. I love the characterization. I love the feel and free flow of this book. It's very fun. It's a space opera and adventure, and it's just great, and it's filled with just sardonic, sarcastic, ironic humor, and it's great, and I love it. Vagrant Queen number 2, Vault Comics knocks them out of the park yet again this week. Image Comics, we got the New Lieutenants of Metal number 1. This is written by Joe Casey. I wanted to check it out. It's illustrated by let me find out who. Illustrated by Ulysses Farinas, with colors by Melody Often. It's got great design work too by Sonia Harris. This book is actually kind of fun. It wasn't really quite my thing. I'm not the biggest metalhead out there. I think if you're a metalhead, you can really appreciate some of the references in this issue, and it even gives you a little playlist in the beginning, 3 songs to listen to while you're reading it. But it's a very fun, lighthearted, absurd, in-your-face, just fun tribute to metal and silly comics. That's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it's supposed to be, and it does it exceptionally well. Paper Girls number 22 is here with one of the most illuminating issues of the series yet. Seriously, Brian K. Vaughan, Cliff Chiang, Matt Wilson, they have been knocking every single issue out of the park. This book is fantastic. It's definitely one that if you haven't been reading it, you need to go back, start getting the trades, get caught up. You're really, the story's becoming not quite clear, but a little bit more clear issue to issue. Very fun, time travel, crazy space fantasy type stuff. Love Paper Girls. If you like Stranger Things, you should read Paper Girls, absolutely. Last Siege number 2 is here. And I felt a little lost, couldn't really remember too much from the issue 1. I do remember that I liked issue number 1, and I liked issue number 2 just as well. Even though I was a little confused about what exactly had happened in the first issue, didn't quite remember everything well, the book still had great dialogue, a great pace to it, a great just juxtaposition of these two different scenes going on at the same time. Fans of things like Game of Thrones, if you like that medieval warfare and things like that, I think you'll like The Last Siege. Check that out, pretty fun. From Aftershock, we got Dark Arc, number 8. This book, I was like, how are you going to take this book beyond like the first initial 5 or 6 issues? Well, Cullen Bunn and Juan Doe know exactly what to do because this book is so fun. The story's getting more and more epic. I'm really intrigued by all the characters, everything that's going on. And the artwork by Juan Doe is so cool and beautiful, and the coloring is just far out. And I just think it's so radical. I love this book so much. It's by far my favorite book from Aftershock Comics, and they have some really good products out right now. But Dark Arc is one of my favorites right now, guys. Seriously, it's going to be one of the best of the year, in my opinion. I think so. Go Go Power Rangers is here with issue number 11. Probably the weakest issue of the series yet, just because it's bogged down in the Shattered Grid crossover, and I don't really feel like the Go Go Power Rangers book needed to really be that tied in. But you got the Ranger Slayer and all that stuff, and it's cool and beautiful, luscious artwork by Dan Mora. I am surprised so much every month that this book comes out. I'm surprised at Mora's commitment to the Power Rangers. You can tell this cat really loves this franchise, really loves this team, and just these characters, and he does an amazing job. And Ryan Parrott on the scripts just has all the characters' voices nailed. It's great. It's not that this issue is not good. It's just like, okay, can we get back to the regularly scheduled program here on Go-Go? You know, Shattered Grid's fun, but this story's, you know, I mean, it's fun too. It's fun, and the artwork's amazing. The Power Ranger books are, we should be thankful for how good the Power Ranger books are right now. So let me just do that. Highest House number 5 is here. This is the final book I want to talk about from IDW, and writer Mike Carey and artist Peter Gross, and colorist Fabian Alquier. Fantastic. You guys, if you follow this channel, you know I love this book. It's a cool fantasy story that's really engaging, great characters, beautiful composition and artwork. It is just so fantastic. This book is just amazing. I think it's been on hiatus for a month or two, but I'm glad it's back. It takes a minute to read. There's a lot to it. The scripts are meaty. They're dense. There's a lot to the story. So much fun. And the story just keeps getting more and more engaging and exciting and enthralling, and other cool words like that start with E. So thank you guys so much. That's what I read. That's what I thought about it. Seriously, get on Black Hammer. Don't be like me and sleep on it too long. Bulk Comics, check it out. Submerged, Vagrant Queen, amazing book from awesome creators. Immortal Hulk, Avengers, Astonishing X-Men. Now, one thing about Astonishing X-Men is Greg Land's on the artwork, and I didn't want to say anything bad, so I didn't say anything at all. Cosmic Ghostwriter is fantastic. Death of the Inhumans is bothering me, but maybe in the right ways. And seriously, the Batman Wedding, Catwoman number 1, give them a chance. They're really good. Man of Steel's awesome. Justice League's awesome. It's a fantastic week. Celebrate it if you have the day off. Celebrate it with your fans, with your friends, and your family. Have some barbecue. Read some comics, eat some apple pie, and launch some fireworks, but not too close to city limits. Like, do it where it's legal and all that stuff, right? Anyway, be safe. Thank you guys for watching the video. Please do like, share, and subscribe, and check us out at popculturephilosophers.com for podcasts and a whole lot more. And over at thepatreon.com/PCP, you can help support this channel, help us get a newer, bigger studio. We're looking for one right now. Very exciting things in the works. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you for rocking with us. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups. Keep on reading.